Welcome. This deep dive is an exploration of the precise retail environment that defined the American consumer experience in the year 1968.
We are moving beyond the simple concept of just shopping.
Our mission today is analytical. We intend to dissect the material vocabulary and the highly structured aesthetic that surrounded the shopper.
We're examining how manufactured materials and deliberately controlled light fundamentally shaped your psychological journey once you were inside the store.
Our source materials for this provide a compelling duality. On one side, we have the highly aspirational visuals, the detailed material descriptions from 1968 fashion catalogs.
Sears, Montgomery Ward.
Correct. These sources tell us what the customer was told they were buying.
And on the other side, we have the rigorous technical frameworks found in architectural and lighting design handbooks from that very same period.
And these documents reveal the precise engineering decisions, don't they?
They do. The objective frameworks. They tell us not only what was engineered, but the measurable psychological effect it was intended to produce.
The central tension we want to unpack for you is how the sheer materiality of the retail space.
And its atmosphere.
Yes.
Yeah.
How it functioned as this island of rigorous order. A clean, controlled distinction from the documented socio-political chaos unfolding outside.
To begin, perhaps we should look first at the structure closest to the individual.
The clothes themselves.
Yeah.
By 1968, the prevailing silhouette for women had become one of streamlining and geometric clarity. We see the influence of the shift dress, the skimmer, and the ubiquitous A-line dominating the catalog pages.
And this reliance on clean, almost architectural silhouettes. It was not accidental, no. It reflected a societal desire for a visible modernity.
A kind of structural simplicity.
Yes, offering a visual break from the more complex, tailored garments of the previous decade.
And this structural clarity was entirely dependent upon the advances in material science. The catalog descriptions are just filled with references to Dacron blends.
Polyester knits, Arnold jersey.
Exactly. And these were not merely new materials, they were a profound promise.
The promise was, above all, one of easy care and structure that held its shape.
That phrase appears constantly.
It does. These synthetic fabrics offered a polished, almost rigid look that contrasted strongly with the texture and maintenance demanded by natural fibers. They suggested a modern, fast-paced life.
A life where garments did not require constant attention.
Precisely.
It is the internal contradiction of this simplicity that is perhaps the most fascinating aspect for us. While the fashion offered ease, the underlying cultural goal, the emphasis on achieving a highly specific figure, remained absolute.
That's a crucial point. The fashion offered freedom of movement, but it did not offer freedom from proportion.
So we know from analyzing these same catalogs that the figure modifications required to achieve the proportions in the printed imagery. They relied heavily on interior structure.
Yes, quite heavily.
Wait, so even with the easy care polyester and the visually loose silhouette of the shift dress, were women still wearing girdles and similar garments?
They were. It contradicts the idea of liberation, doesn't it?
It seems to.
It creates a powerful engineered duality. The appearance was modern liberation, but the foundation remained structured control.
The easy care exterior covering a disciplined interior.
Exactly. The undergarments, the shapewear, they were still necessary to achieve that idealized, elongated A-line proportion the photographer intended.
And the photography itself played a role.
Oh, absolutely. It is worth noting that the catalog imagery often favored a three-quarter view, which intentionally exaggerated these desired modifications. It underscores that even the perfect shape was a construction.
A construction meticulously engineered for the retail setting.
Yes. So the body was the first engineered element in this chain. Polished, synthetic, and structurally controlled. Designed to be visually distinct before the shopper even stepped onto the sales floor.
Moving now from the engineered body to the broader engineered environment, we observe the exact same preoccupation with geometric structure.
With deliberate control, the geometric visual language wasn't confined to the fiber of the dress. If we look closely at the fashion prints,
The slanted stripe shifts, the tone-on-tone geometric patterns.
This orderliness was mirrored precisely in the structural materials that housed these retail temples.
And the concurrent domestic buildings of the late 60s.
Yes. The standardized, practical, and highly modular construction elements became paramount. We see the wide usage of brick veneer, stucco, and a material that was highly prevalent at the time for its perceived utility, asbestos cement sheeting.
It was favored in post-war construction because it was standardized, easily installed, and offered both a low cost and the perceived benefit of being fireproof.
This reliance on a standard component library. It was essential for minimizing construction costs.
And for ensuring rapid deployment of commercial space. But this desire for cost-effective speed led to standardization.
And standardization inherently creates uniformity, which society often resists, particularly in domestic spaces.
This is where we see the concept of manufactured individualism emerge, isn't it?
It is. The cultural necessity was to avoid visual uniformity while still relying on cheap, standardized parts. The retail floor, however, presented a geometric ideal.
You mean the checkerboard floors?
Think of the large, clean, checkerboard patterns often used in the tiling of those department store floors. It was the purest expression of visual order, of control.
But the housing around the store, that had to be different. The geometry had to be modulated.
Precisely. In private housing constructed during this period, builders utilized this standardized library in varied ways. You would frequently see a combination of two different claddings,
Such as a stucco upper section paired with brick veneer below.
or variations achieved by adjusting window placements and roof pitches. The consumer needed to feel that their standardized house possessed a unique facade, masking the fact that it was constructed from the same mass-produced components as its neighbors.
So the outside world was characterized by these standardized components given a superficial manufactured variation.
A controlled sense of individuality.
While the store itself, the retail environment, offered that pure, clean, geometric order. It was a psychological shield in a way.
It was, making the commercial space feel safe and rational compared to the complex, varied, and tumultuous world outside.
It was an escape into structure.
You could rely on the geometry of the store when you could not rely on the geometry of the street.
This careful orchestration of material and pattern extended directly into the sensory environment through the application of controlled illumination.
We must address the aesthetic of that warm amber yellow lighting.
It characterized these retail interiors, making them feel so inviting.
And this was far more than simple lighting. It was a conscious creation of a desirable atmosphere. It moves well beyond mere visibility for shopping.
From the perspective of design physics, the underlying warmth is a precise engineering choice. These spaces primarily relied on incandescent lamps.
And when the voltage supplied to these lamps is reduced, when they are dimmed, there is a swift, disproportionate decrease in luminous flux.
They get darker quickly.
Yes. But concurrently, and crucially, there is an unavoidable dramatic shift in the light's color temperature. It moves deeply toward the warmer reddish-yellow end of the spectrum.
The color of firelight.
A control aesthetic effect designed to evoke comfort and richness.
And the terminology used in the period's lighting handbooks to describe this controlled light. It focused on two specific phenomena: focal glow and brilliance.
Effects that stood in stark contrast to the flat, even diffused illumination that was becoming common elsewhere.
This is where the psychological application in the retail context becomes fully evident, isn't it? The deliberate manipulation of light served to manipulate the shopper's perception of value.
Entirely. The technique of focal glow was employed strategically. It acted almost like a spotlight.
How does that translate functionally?
Well, think of it like this. Focal glow draws your eye directly to a specific product. A dress on a mannequin, a piece of jewelry in a case. It isolates that item,
Bathing it in this rich, warm light.
making the object appear unique, inherently desirable, and, critically, more precious. More precious than merchandise displayed under flat, generalized illumination.
So focal glow handles the product itself. But what about the entire room? How did they make the whole space feel expensive and vibrant?
That is the function of brilliance. Brilliance, often achieved through highly reflective surfaces or controlled sparkling sources, was employed to lend a sense of life, energy, and atmosphere to the entire space.
This light differentiation was crucial then.
It was, because it separated the consumer temple from the functional world.
It stood in stark relief to this simultaneous rapid rise of utilitarian fluorescent strip lighting.
Precisely. Fluorescent light was highly efficient, functionally superior for task lighting. It became commonplace in domestic kitchens, laundry rooms.
The functional spaces of the home.
Yes. If the warm, inviting retail space felt like a cozy, expensive living room, the domestic kitchen, with its fluorescent strips, often felt like the cold, efficient light of a dentist's office.
So the store was consciously designed to feel elevated.
Warm and invitingly precious. A clear aesthetic differentiation from the functional realities of home life. When we synthesize these elements, we realize that the 1968 retail aesthetic, from the engineered fiber of the A-line dress to the warmed illumination and the geometry of the floor, was a rigorous, total exercise in controlled design.
A carefully curated environment.
It was, using inexpensive, practical materiality to construct an artificial, highly aspirational atmosphere intended to shape behavior and perception.
And we observed this complex duality. The fundamental materials of the construction, the standardized components, the low-cost claddings like asbestos cement, were chosen for their practicality.
For their ease of use and perceived permanence.
Yet the aesthetic experience they framed was one of deliberate, artificial order, with psychological aspiration and luxurious warmth.
This contrast between raw engineered practicality and manufactured psychological aspiration is not unique to 1968, but it was crystallized then. It established a pattern that remains a critical tension in commercial design today.
We leave you with this final reflective thought. If the foundation of the 1968 consumer experience was rooted in functional, cost-effective industrial materials prized at the time for being easily accessible and budget-conscious, what does the necessity of that artificial warmth and precise psychological conditioning tell us about the true, lasting nature of perceived value in mass culture?